Hi everyone, I'm Francois. To continue on my series of G-Shock watch reviews, I recently did a review of one of my G-Shock squares, and here's the other one. So let's get right into it, because it's time to watch. As many of you already know, because it's printed on most of their boxes, G-Shock came out first in 1983, and they came out with G-Shock squares. This is a G-Shock square, but it's a modern version of that first watch that came out in 1983. And it has kind of a feature in there that's reminiscent of that watch, and we'll talk about that a bit later. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the measurements, I'll talk about the physical characteristics of the watch itself, and we'll go through quickly the functions, and then I'll put it on my wrist, show you the specific backlight. Why I'm saying specific, because I like that feature. I think it's a thing that they added in this module that's specific to this module, and it's really nice. And then we'll wrap it up. If we look at the measurements themselves, it's a watch that still has good presence on your wrist, but it's not that bad compared to other G-Shocks, typical G-Shocks, I would say. So we talk about a diagonal here as opposed to a diameter because, of course, this is a G-Shock square. So the diagonal is 43 millimeters, the lug to lug is 49 millimeters, and the thickness is 13 millimeters. We also have all G-Shocks that have 200 meters of water resistance, as it's indicated right here. 20 bars equals 200 meters. And with this resined band, it weighs 110 grams. As you notice, this is not a full resin. This is metal with a resin band. And my previous G-Shock square I reviewed recently was 53 grams. So you have more than double the weight on this version here. However, I feel that it's well balanced because the weight is not all on the head here. With the hardware here, it balances it out. So I feel that it's more comfortable than we may first perceive. If we bring it closer so you can see better, I already talked about the water resist right there. Let me just show you it here. This angle, it's better. So you have the water resist 20 bars. You have the indication for the different buttons that have different features depending on what you're doing. So you have the receiving, you have the start stop there. You can also set plus, set minus on this one. And you also have the light, and the split reset basically just points on the other way. So it points to this button right here. And of course, this button has the adjust and the mode. And as usual in the user guide, you have the buttons identified as A, B, C, and D, respectively. And we'll go through the functions, but I'll go really quickly because I always refer to Watch Geek's tutorial. And of course, he'll go through a deeper dive. I'll just basically tell you what the watch can do, and you'll see how you can do it with Watch Geek. I'll also leave a tag right here, a card, I'd say. We'll go through the functions of this module 3459, and we'll quickly go through them, like I said, and we'll start with the mode here. So when you press on mode, you, of course, change from the normal time to world time. Specifically on this module, you have more than one world time that you can adjust. You can have a total of 5. So this was 1, that is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, and then you go back to 1. Then from world time, go to the alarm. And once again, you have more than one alarm. You can switch the alarms here. Alarm 2, alarm 3, alarm 4. Then you have a snooze alarm. Essentially, the snooze alarm says that it's indicated in the user guide that when you put the snooze alarm, you just can't close it. You have to go back in the settings and close it so that it doesn't ring anymore. Otherwise, when it rings, you shut it off. It'll ring again in 9 to 10 minutes. So that's good for people who can't get up in the morning. And then you have the last item in this alarm feature, this signal. So every hour, at the top of the hour, you'll hear a beep. And then you're back to your first alarm. Then you press mode once again. You have the stopwatch. The stopwatch is really easy to use. And again, you have the start stop right here. So you start and you stop here, and then you can reset by pressing here. Then after the stopwatch, you have the timer, and it's the same thing. You can adjust here the timer and start, stop, and reset or reinitialize, I should say, the timer. I don't know if you noticed, but every time you change the modes in this window here, you always have a view of the time. So you can stay on your timer without having to change and go back to the time to see what time it is on your watch. And then you're back to the timekeeping. Like I said, there are different functions in the timekeeping where you can change the DST, daylight savings time, or not. The power save mode here, I don't know if you can see it, it's PS. And then you have an RCVD here, a code that would say that you received the time signal. Essentially, you have a Bluetooth connected watch with a multiband 6. And this is the key button where you can receive that information. So the antennas, of course, are throughout the world. I think there are 5 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 throughout the world. 1 in the US, 2 in Europe, 2 in Japan, and 1 in China, if I remember correctly. So that's why it's important to set your home time at the location that you are, so that it can catch the closest antenna. So if you put your home time somewhere else and you're not near the antenna, you won't receive the time unless you're connected to your Bluetooth. I went quickly through the functions, so now let's go to the case back. And again, we'll go quickly because there's a lot of information in there, but not all the information is pertinent. If you look at the far left, you have that Bluetooth logo where basically it indicates that it's a Bluetooth connectivity. You have the multiband 6 if you go at the top left. Then through the top right, you have the tough solar, and then you have stainless steel, which is a stainless steel back. This one in particular is IP coated, so it's ion plated, and it has a nice clean look and feel to it. You have that water resistant indication of 20 bars, 200 meters, and the rest is basically the module number 3459, like I indicated earlier, and the model is GMW-B5000. This one is a -1 specifically with the rubber band, the rubber strap. The other indications in regards to the codes, well, it's basically the fact that you have antennas and Bluetooth connectivity. You have to have a compliance type of code, basically saying that this is compliant to the regulations and code of communications with the FCC at the bottom that you can see. But otherwise, I think we have the gist of it. What we see also is that the case back, as I said, is ion plated, but also is a screw down case back, which provides you with the total 200 meter of water resistance. What I like about the backside here is you notice that they signed the back of the strap. So it's a nice touch. I feel it's a nice touch with that red accent, of course. So talking about the strap, let's talk about the strap. We can replace the strap if we want. You see here there are screws. This is a rubber strap. Like I said, this is a metal version of the G-Shock Square. So all this metal here is nice and polished in certain areas. But if you look at the bezel itself, I don't know if you can see it well, right beside the G-Shock, it's basically a vertical brushing. You have also some brushing on the sides as well, where you see in the lugs and where it comes out here on the sides. And the bracelet the strap itself is really flexible, and that's what I liked about it. The all metal version is, one, heavier, two, not that comfortable in my opinion. This one here has a nice, soft and flexible resin, and it looks like the vintage one with these holes right here and that groove right there all the way through. The underside is really soft and adds to the comfort. And I don't know if you noticed, but here you don't have any knurlings like we had in the version of my G-Shock 5600 for the breathability. So this basically says that they're wanting us to wear this more in a casual or formal attire. It's not a sports watch necessarily. It has a nice clean look and feel to it, and I agree with them. That's the overview of the watch. Now what's left is the wrist shot, and I'll also show you the light itself. I like that feature that they added in this module, and of course we can't see it now. I'll just show you separate images, but let me put it on my wrist and we'll see what it looks like. But before I put it on my wrist, I have to take this one off. This one is one of my MTG watches. This one in particular has a significance to my life, and I'm looking forward to showing it to you. This is going to be my next review. So if you like these types of reviews, of course, don't hesitate. Press that like button and leave a comment. It's always appreciated. And of course, if you subscribe and press that notification bell, well, you'll be notified of my next review, which, like I said, is this MTG. So I remind you, my wrist is a 7-inch wrist. I have room to grow and for smaller wrists as well. So this is great. You have the signed buckle right there. So here it is on my 7-inch wrist. I like the proportions. It's not too big of a watch for a G-Shock. And I was talking about the light. Well, when you press here, what it does, it fades in and then it fades out. So that's it for this review, and I truly appreciate you being with me. And of course, I hope to see you next time.